Hey YouTube, this is Kelvin, and I'm continuing my series on understanding pawns in chess. But I understand that there are a lot of positions that you'll come to when you're learning about pawns where kings are involved. And so what I decided I was going to go ahead and do is I created a separate playlist. So that way, when certain positions come up, or I think of certain concepts that involve kings, I can kind of separate them into the proper playlist and stuff. So that way, if somebody's looking for specifics on king movements, they can search that, and then also pawn movements, they can just kind of search them independently. And so normally I have the pawns pretty centered on the square, but due to this example, the king being so much higher than the bishop than the pawn, I went ahead and just kind of knocked the pawn on the side a little bit, and then when I bring the king up, right behind the pawn, I'll have it a little bit adjusted. That way, just visually, you guys can see it considerably easier. Now, the chess concept that I want to talk about right now it's called triangulation. And so basically, in king and pawn endgames, like I said before, you come into a situation where you can be in zugzwang, or you can have your opponent can be in zugzwang. And basically, when you're in zugzwang, you're in a situation where you don't really want to move, because any move that you make uh, is gonna basically make your position be worse. It's gonna make you start to go back or give ground, or allow the opposing people to the opponent to queen a pawn, or just get a superior position. So if you really could, you'd want to pass the turn and say, hey, why don't you go ahead and go. And so zugzwang and triangulation. So triangulation is a part of zugzwang. And basically, the point is, when you're triangulating yourself, you're wanting to basically repeat the position, achieve the same position that you would if you just directly did it, and pass the move to the other player. And like I said, with Zugzwang, you're basically, you're trying to put somebody in a position to where if they make any move, they're gonna worsen their position. So let's go ahead and just take a look at what that means. So we have this position here, king and pawns. It looks a little bit complicated, but it's not too crazy, guys. So if white is to move here, white's goal is to capture this pawn. And then, of course, black's goal is to try to defend it. And also each side is trying to penetrate into the opposing position, right? And so, there's a lot of people that will say, okay, well, my goal is to win this pawn right here. So let me go ahead and just, attack it, right? So they'll make this move here. They'll go to e2, right? And so they're like, hey, I attacked the pawn. Now he has to defend the pawn, and I'm gonna kill him, right? Like, I'm gonna get him, right? All right, cool. And so the problem with that particular movement, if you go in the direct fashion, is gonna be that move here. So basically, king to e4 is gonna defend its pawn, and then now, like I said, you're in a zugzwang. So you're in a situation where you can't move to either of these squares, because they're protected by the pawn, and so you're gonna have to give way. And so as you can see, your white pawns are blocked. This one isn't blocked, but you know, um, you pretty much have a situation where you can't move. And so you're gonna have to, like, move back here, or move back there, because um, this pawn is so close. And if you guys watched, I'll put up in the corner here, the when one pawn freezes two pawns, the pawn freeze. I'll put that video in the top right hand corner for you guys, so that you guys, if you're not familiar with that concept, you can watch that video, and then it'll give you a little bit of better understanding. But basically, there's not really a good way to push this pawn, because this pawn will take, and then you have a pawn that's going to be queening pretty soon. So the king move is going to be your best bet. And so, like I said, the problem with this situation is you're going to have to make some type of a concession, move back in a certain way. So, I mean, if you move here or something like that, that just allows the king to penetrate. And so, like I said, you're in a situation, a zugzwang, where you basically don't want to move, and you want to just pass the move. But, unfortunately, you can't do that in chess. So if we back up a touch here, and we just run through it one more time, there's a little cute maneuver that you can do, like I said, triangulation, where you can basically achieve that same position but give the move to black. And so it looks kind of weird at first, if you're not used to seeing it, because you're thinking, like, I'm not making any progress forward, I'm just kind of sidestepping. But that's exactly what we want to do, because then we put black in a position to where he's not he's in the zugzwang. and and so instead of moving directly forward, so instead of moving, king to e2, what we're going to do first is we're going to sidestep in either direction. So we're either going to go king to f2, or king to f1, or king to d1. And then basically, so let's say for example we go ahead and go to d1, right? And so the black king wants to, the black king wants to go this way, because naturally if you go back this way, or you go back this way, or you give ground in any way, the white king can just step right up and take the pawn, right? And so king to d1. So the only really option is to try to just go forward. Basically, like I said, it's a zugzwang situation, so there isn't really a good reply for black in this particular position. And so then, if you guys notice, we are in the same position that we started in before, but now black is the one to move, right? And so now black, I mean, not being able to go to either of these two squares, has to move, back. This is the only move that they can make. And so then you'll be able to win the pawn, and then you'll be able to start penetrating into the position and getting to where you want to go, because there's no move here, has to go here or has to go here. And so the king is having to start to move back in this direction here. So to just run it back through real quick for you guys, if you take the direct approach in this position, you'll end up with this as the position with white to move. And then if you back up and you either step to this side or this side, we can just for example's sake step to that side instead. They move up and you come up here, and if you notice, the position is exactly the same as it was before, but now it's black to move. And so that's your whole goal when you're triangulating your king, is to basically repeat the position but kind of waste the move so that you can give your opponent the move, and you can start penetrating into their position and get you a superior king and pawn type of endgame. So that is a concept I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And like I said, I'm doing a series on, I'm starting the series on, king movements and stuff like that. So just little maneuvers that a king can do. And just in addition to me, me doing my, understanding pawns and chess and stuff. And, we kind of go hand in hand, because there's a majority of the time when you get down into an endgame, you have kings and pawns. You might have a rook or something like that. But, the most common type of endgame is going to be a king and pawn endgame. And so, right, so that's that, guys. If you guys have any comments or any suggestions or any videos you'd like for me to do, go ahead and just put a comment and let me know, and I'll see what I can do to try to get that video made for you guys. But I appreciate it, guys, and I'll see you next time.